1. We're here about 1 mile from the epicenter of the devastating earthquake that struck this part of Italy at 3:36 a.m. in early hours of Wednesday morning. What we're watching right here in this tiny little town, this little hamlet of about 20 people who live here, called Saletta, right near Amatrice, which is the epicenter of the earthquake up the road, is a rescue operation going on. Those rescuers on the top of that building believe there are as many as 4 people still possibly alive inside that building. They've been working for a couple of hours now. They've got dogs, search and rescue dogs, alerting them to obviously some sort of sign of life. We've seen some frantic work in the last couple of minutes, especially as they're trying desperately to find out if there is anyone alive inside that building. We've been seeing scenes like this throughout the day here in this tiny little town, but this is just one example of many areas of devastation that have been, brought down because of this terrible earthquake. This repeats itself for miles and miles up the road, over the hills, in the devastated areas. There's so many things we've noticed throughout the day. Helicopters coming from the north of Italy, so many people trying to come in, bring help with heavy equipment in the last couple of hours. But one of the things that is really most striking are how many people here are walking around in their pajamas. They were shaken from their bed in the early hours of the morning. We've got people who are still wearing their pajamas. This man right here walking by right now, still in his pajamas from the morning. We've seen him all day long. He doesn't know where he's going to sleep tonight. He doesn't know what his next, where his home is going to be. He doesn't know even what's going to be saved from what's left of his home. We've seen that over and over again. People breaking down in tears. People just wanting one more chance to go back inside their house and find and take something, a picture, a memento, something like that. We'd be happy to take your questions on this Facebook Live for CNN. I'm Barbie Nadeau, CNN contributor based here in Italy.
Are there many aftershocks?
We've had aftershocks all day long. The question was, are there any aftershocks? We've felt aftershocks here all day long. We're watching especially closely some of the buildings that are still standing around us. We're seeing the cracks in the walls grow wider and wider, and with each aftershock you hear more pieces of buildings fall. You hear the things like that settling into the debris. But we've had aftershocks all day. At 3:36 a.m. when the earthquake struck 6.2, it was felt in Rome where we were based. By the time we got here, we were still feeling aftershocks about once every hour or so. The U.S. Geological Survey, among others, have said that there have been aftershocks almost on an hourly basis, some of them very strong, that you really feel, you really hear the sounds of more devastation taking place. Some of them are a little bit more subtle. We can expect, as we understand, for this to go on for days and even weeks because of the size and scope of this particular earthquake.
Was there any damage of the aftershocks?
One of the things that's always difficult to ascertain in an earthquake that happens overnight, and we've seen this before, especially here in Italy, is how much damage takes place at the moment the earthquake strikes and how much damage takes place in the first and second and third aftershocks. In this particular case, the fact that you've got people who were able to get out of their houses wearing their pajamas, still wrapped in their bedclothes, really indicated those houses were standing, at least for a period of time, from the moment the first earthquake struck and from the time their houses collapsed. Of course, the loss of life, the devastating loss of life, we've got confirmed, over 70 people dead right now. That number is expected to potentially go even higher. We've got some movement of this building beside us right now, which we've been watching. So to answer the question, which was, has there been more damage in the aftershocks? Yes, we're still seeing damage in some of these aftershocks and tremors.
Is this the only area, or are there other areas involved?
The question is, is this the only area that is struck, or are there other areas involved? This is just one small part of a picture that repeats itself over and over and over again for many, many miles around the epicenter of this devastating earthquake. This, you see, is a little hamlet of 20 people. There might be as many as a dozen of these sorts of houses, groupings of houses where 20, 30 people live. in and around the area, and rescuers are really trying very hard to reach those areas. It's been very difficult to get heavy machinery in, to get the kind of equipment they need to move these stones. These houses aren't made of wood, they're made of stone. That's why this area is so popular, the picturesque houses, you know, all of these old stone houses. We're seeing right now a huge piece of heavy lifting equipment coming up the road. You know, these are the types of things we've only been seeing in the last couple of hours. Earlier in the day, we didn't see any of these heavy equipment trucks coming in. That's because the roads weren't safe enough to bring them. You know, many of the roads and the highways along the way, the bridges, this is a very mountainous area connected by bridges. Many of those bridges were compromised. We'll just let this pass. This is the type of heavy equipment, you know, that they're hoping will be able to be used to help save more lives. They're expecting more people to be found alive under the rubble, according to the civil protection authorities. It's not overly hot, it's not overly cold. You know, it's a time of the year where inclement weather is not a factor in terms of survival. If people are in a house where there's a pocket of air, they could survive, you know, for days, according to the authorities, who know what they're, you know, quite used to dealing with these types of devastations.
Another question from the Facebook users is, how can we help? And that you suggest no at the moment of rescue, tomorrow will be said.
Right. You know, the question was, what can people do to help? People in the immediate area, obviously, one of the things people want is blood. They're asking people to donate blood, to donate clothing, to come to the aid of the people who have lost everything, as you see in these you know, these devastated houses. These people have their pajamas and maybe a memento. Some of them were carrying their pets this morning. They need things like that in order to help the people. In the longer term, of course, it's going to be days before funds and things like that are set up for donations to help this devastated area. You know, so many people though here, so many of these residents in these buildings are elderly, and they've told us time and time again, nobody's going to rebuild these towns. This is a town of 20 people. They say the town's gone forever. We see that as well in the city where the epicenter was located. This is a town of 2,000 people. The mayor there said half the town's gone. It's very unlikely that anyone is going to rebuild that town again. And that's a sort of, you know, very pessimistic future they're looking at, but that's probably very realistic.
Another user is asking, what is the government doing and is the Vatican doing anything?
You know, the question was, what is the Italian government doing and what is the Vatican doing? This is from one of the Facebook users who's asked this question. The Italian government sprang into action at 4 a.m. this morning when Prime Minister Matteo Renzi called what is the equivalent in the United States as a natural disaster. He called for full cooperation from all the civil protection agencies that allowed the army to be used, to be deployed. That allowed everybody to just go to this devastated area without concern for budget, without concern for manpower. That was just to get everybody here, and that's been working. We've seen helicopters coming from other parts of Italy. We've seen trucks and vehicles that are from other parts of the country trying to get to this area. The problem, of course, until now has been access, and continues to be access. They have to make sure it's safe for the rescuers before they can go in and rescue the people. You don't want to lose the rescuers during a rescue operation. In terms of the Vatican, Pope Francis, during his Wednesday audience today, said a special prayer, called people to prayer, to pray for the people who have been affected, pray for the families who have lost their family members. I'm just going to turn to the side a little bit. We've got such frantic work going on right up there above us as they search for as many as 4 survivors up there. We understand that there's a couple in their 60s who are believed to be from Rome, who were here trying to escape the city heat in Rome. We're here in their weekend holiday house. You know, by the way they're working right now, you know, obviously we're not up there, but you get the impression that they have every reason to believe that they're on a rescue operation. They're not on a recovery operation up there right now.
Are the roads safe?
The question is from one of our Facebook users, are the roads safe? Well, the civil protection... Woo! Woo! Jeez! Oh, man.
Okay, that was great. This is the house.
Okay. Jeez.
Are you there? Are you there? The
Guarda.
house behind us just collapsed. Okay.
Should we go
Barbie,
live?
Barbie, are you still live? Are you live?
All right, Jesus. Hang on, where am I?
Fine, she can talk. Barbie, it won't stay so close. Okay, let's move a little bit.
Hang on, I need to get myself here.
Yeah, just say what happened.
Traffic
Barbie.
reporter. Yep. All right. Are we live right now?
Yeah, you're on Facebook.
Okay.
Just explain what happened, why you rushed away, and what happened.
Right. We've been watching. We've been watching here behind us. This house, that the cracks in this house have been widening for the better part of the day. We've been expecting this house to fall. It just fell while we were on the air, which is why we ran. We were very concerned that this might happen, and in fact it did. Whether or not that's a result of a tremor that we felt or didn't feel, or not.
You can walk around that in front of the camera. You're giving cables for it. And then just go around the front, and then we can have them, and then.
Okay.
Okay, should Barbie continue to talk, Brian? Okay, we can also end it now.
No, we're in. We're sitting here right now with in front of some civil. Okay, thank you so much. We're going to sign off now and make sure that we stay safe as well, as the situation just seems to get worse and worse. This house just collapsed in front of us as we were doing our live.